Hello and welcome to another honest review. I'm Stefana and today we're looking into a somewhat controversial one, Mafia 3. Now of course this game isn't a new one, but I thought it'd be worth revisiting for anyone who is considering picking up the game in 2020. Let's start by saying that this game is widely criticised, but that is mainly due to the series' already high standards. But let's see if it's really as bad as all the experts say. This is Mafia 3. Should I buy it? The story. If you know my reviews, you know I love a good story, and this had the potential to be an absolute romper stomper. Sadly, it falls really short. Naturally, I won't give away any story spoilers, but let's just say it's very different from the traditional Mafia games. Gone are the days of being part of the Italian mob or becoming a made man. Instead, it's almost an anti-Mafia game. Now, to be honest, I don't mind that. It's different and it's outside of the box and a bold move by the developers. But the issue really is that it's just done very poorly. The first hour had me brimming with excitement, but the mission structure is just so repetitive. It ruins any kind of narrative. Furthermore, the story is also quite unrealistic. Sure, this is a video game, but it's still based in a real era and on seemingly real people. This review isn't going to be a Mafia 3 slating. We are going to focus on a lot of the good stuff too, but sadly, the story scores a very disappointing 5 out of 10. Setting. Okay, now this is better. The game is set in the fictional town of New Bordeaux, which some people draw comparisons to the real-life New Orleans. The town has several districts, all of which boast different quirks and inhabitants. For example, we have the bustling and vibrant downtown district where you'll find the rich and famous dwelling, and then a few miles away we have Delray Hollow, a poorer area of the town which mainly houses the game's black community. The addition of the Bayou River adds a more remote area where a lot of the shady illicit activities take place, such as moonshine distilling, drug smuggling and illegal street races. The developers do a wonderful job at bringing this world to life. Switching the console on and donning your headphones, you really feel like you're in 1968. The use of the 60s music mixed with factual news reports on the car radio really add to the immersion, and what this game deserves huge recognition for is its depiction of racism. Sometimes in video games, developers try to avoid or water down things like this for a more PG audience, but look, it happened. Racism was rife in the 1960s, and some of the language and slurs that you hear in the game really are shocking, and the game even comes with a warning disclaimer at the beginning. However, it does really show you what it was like during this time for an African American growing up in the US. Also in the world are collectibles, which you can run around the map and add to your personal collection, which is a really nice touch. You can find records, paintings, and also actual Playboy magazines from the 1960s, which is great because of the interesting articles in the back of the book. On the whole, the world is awesome. I want another game set here, just with an entirely different story. 8. Characters. So the main guy in this game is Lincoln Clay, an army veteran hell-bent on revenge following an early game encounter. Lincoln is okay, just okay. His toughness and anger feels real and it's displayed really well, but at times he can also seem a little bit wooden and kind of lacking of personality. Sometimes in certain cutscenes we witness an element of humour from Lincoln, particularly early on, but it would be nice to see a bit more of that as the game develops, although I do understand it may undermine his anger and hard man attitude. Several members of the Italian mob form the antagonists, and they are pretty stereotypical mobsters and could maybe have done with a little bit more background. The supporting characters are pretty solid. They all, like Lincoln, have emotional trauma behind them and their very own reasons to achieve their goals. My main criticism when it comes to the characters is the inclusion of a well-known character from Mafia 2. Although I did smile and shout his name when he first appeared on my screen, he kind of lacked depth and kind of seemed like the developers had just added him in purely for nostalgia purposes, which I think is a little bit lazy. They also in turn completely butchered his whole persona from the previous game. Overall, not bad. 6. Gameplay. A difficult category. Mafia 3 boasts some elements which are superb and unrivaled by any video game I've played. Yes, seriously, some of the stuff is really that good. Other areas, however, rank among the worst. Fighting and stealth elements are pretty cool, but certainly not revolutionary. It uses the good old-fashioned Assassin's Creed model whistle. You know, the one where you hide behind a box and whistle so an enemy approaches whilst ignoring his 9 mates who are already lying dead on the floor nearby, and then strangely acts surprised when he gets his throat slashed. Yep, that's the one. Although not entirely realistic, many games use this mechanic, so I can't mark it down for doing so. It's still massively satisfying, stealthily killing an entire warehouse of bad guys, plus the killing animations are pretty cool and gruesome. Driving is insanely good in this game. The mechanics are much harder than the likes of GTA and include some cool extras such as seeing Lincoln physically changing gears at appropriate times. This, combined with the street racing that you can do, is really fun. The major negative is the AI behaviour. Either the developers got something seriously wrong or the people of New Bordeaux are just very suicidal. Here is an example of times where the NPCs baffled me. Stupid driving techniques, diving into the road when I'm driving recklessly, and randomly getting out of your car whilst in traffic is infuriating, but is also pretty hilarious. It led to me killing more innocent people than the entire Italian mob combined. 7. Visuals. Again, a bit of a 50-50 category. Mafia 2 certainly boasted pretty good graphics for its 2010 release, but its successor is competing with some big boys now, and pretty mesmerising engines. The visuals of the world is actually really good. The bright neon lights of the affluent areas around town look realistic, and the weather system is really rewarding, particularly the rain. Street lighting bounces off the puddles just like it would in real life. Awesome. Weirdly, it's the cutscenes which form the issue. Normally these are the standout elements of a game, with most resembling a damn movie. At a quick glance it looks fine, but there is something really wrong with people's mouths. Almost as if the teeth aren't properly texturalized or the movement is slightly out of sync with the speech. I don't know, perhaps that's why everyone in New Bordeaux is committing suicide. Good, but not standout. 6.5. Bugs. So, is Mafia 3 bug-riddled? No. Is it bug-free? No. On the whole, it's a fairly smooth encounter, but I did come across a few problems. The biggest is what you can see here. Character who I had to interact with to continue the main story. Upon pressing the square button prompt, nothing happened. I tried and retried a lot, had to reboot my console and reload earlier saves before eventually it worked. Frustrating. 6. Length. So the story isn't too long. According to polls from gamers, it comes in at around 22 hours. Personally, mine was around 25. For a completionist wanting to smash every challenge, you're going to be looking at more like 40 hours. To quote my girlfriend, that's a decent length. Although the issue comes back to the repetitive mission structure I mentioned earlier. The story isn't long, but it feels so long because it takes so much back and forth missions between each chapter. Put it this way, normally when I finish a game, I feel sad. This one, I sighed relief. 5.5. Fun. So, is Mafia 3 fun? I'd say for the first 2 hours, or at least until the game officially begins, yes. But again, this game desperately needed a more unique and creative way to do each mission. Despite the boss fights, every other mission is virtually the same. Basically, take the least entertaining Assassin's Creed assassination mission and repeat it 9 million times. After a while, it becomes very bland, and it really doesn't surprise me that lots of people end up not finishing this game. 6. Value. As always with this category, I can only judge it on what the game is currently priced at during the time of recording. The standard edition is currently listed at £15/$19 for PS4 and £5/$6 for Xbox. I'm not really sure why there is such a difference between the two consoles, but hey ho. Both of those prices are fairly cheap, but get this, I would not spend any more than £10 on this game. That sounds brutal, but simply there are so many better games in this category, most of which are from small developers who, in my opinion, are far more deserving of your hard-earned money. So, the Xbox value is good, PS is bad. Let's level the scores out at a 6. Replayability. Would you play this game again? Simply no, not to completion. Some gamers struggle to finish this game on their very first play, and I would be amazed if anybody is coming back and completing it a second time. Sure, you may want to load the game up again in a year or two so you can have a quick drive around its wonderful setting, but soon you'll remember just how repetitive the mission structure is and switch straight back to Fall Guys. 4. So, here's the verdict. As always, I try and make my reviews fair and balanced, and I'm not at all biased to any developer. I also hate giving games a bad review, because developers do spend huge amounts of time on games purely for our enjoyments. Well, and our money. And there's no doubt that the Hangar 13 developers did that with this game, but disappointingly, it falls flat. As a big lover of the series, that's really sad. Maybe the series will be revived in the years to come, but I kind of feel not many gamers will be rushing to buy it if they do. Most will likely wait for reviewers to check it out first and spend their money on it before anyone else does. Wait, does that mean I've got to buy it? For more reviews and other gaming videos, please hit subscribe.